It's a story we hear every day. Forests destroyed, oceans overfished, and the atmosphere polluted. The story of paradise lost. We've changed the face of the earth. We've even changed the climate. It's time we changed. This is the story of Rocha, a story of change, transformation, restoration, and hope. Rocha is an international conservation organization that's working to show God's love for all creation. We are committed to environmental action through community-based conservation projects. From helping landowners in France turn their fields back to the original wetlands that once welcomed wildlife, and protecting the Alva estuary in the south of Portugal with its rich biodiversity, to saving one of the last forests of the African coast, bringing income to desperately poor local villages, Rocha has grown over the last 2 decades into a global family of projects working on 5 continents.
Yeah, I found this one.
Underlying all we do is our biblical faith in a living God who made the world, loves it, and entrusts it to the care of human society. It's why we're passionate about what we do. It's why what we are has always been somewhat unique in both the conservation and Christian worlds.
What we were trying to do in Portugal in 1983 at the very beginning was to give a practical expression to 2 convictions. The first was that it's a completely normal part of the Christian life to care for God's creation, even if that whole emphasis has rather gone missing from how we understand it to be. But also within the environmental movement, values, beliefs, why we do conservation work has not been talked about very much, although it's actually fundamental. And we wanted to bring that discussion to the foreground, but also to show in practice what Christian convictions would mean if you put them into a working context.
Thank you for each person here. Amen.
Amen. We're now seeing tremendous possibilities for Rocha developing worldwide, and one particular thing is exciting us, and that is that often where you find biodiversity hotspots, and those are relatively small areas on the planet, you sometimes find major concentrations of Christians as well. And we're looking at those overlap areas, those highly strategic places where if the Christian church gains a vision for really understanding the need and the responsibility to care for creation, there could be enormous impact for good. In conservation terms, Rocha's vision is quite wide really, because it's to see ecosystems restored, but it's also to see the well-being of those human communities that are dependent upon them. So you're talking about restoration ecology, but at the same time you're sometimes talking about developmental economics or sustainability. It's a very wide vision.
Olá, bem-vindo à cozinha, a casa da Associação Rocha.
The Rocha movement began here at its very first field study centre, Cruzinha, which is situated on the Alva estuary in the Algarve. The estuary is one of the most important coastal wetlands in southern Portugal. This rich ecosystem includes priority habitats of coastal lagoons and sand dunes, all supporting a high diversity of specialised flora and fauna. It is home to the beautiful black-winged stilt, and also to the nationally significant populations of 2 highly threatened species, little tern and Kentish plover. Each spring and autumn, it serves as a key staging post for thousands of migrant waders under the watchful eye of Rocha's monitoring programme.
24.2.
And each year, thousands of tourists flock here as well. The pressures are great: uncontrolled development, beach resorts and golf courses. But thanks to Rocha's long-term presence and advocacy in the area for more than 20 years, the Alva estuary has retained its wildlife habitats.
This little shrub in front of us here is very important for our area because it's camphor time, Timosh camphoratus.
Thanks to the camphor time, Rio de Alvor has been declared a Natura 2000 site and is now within the network of sites that have been designated by the European Union to ensure the conservation of important habitats and species.
Vamos preservar Rio de Alvor!
Elsewhere in Europe, Rocha is working on other Natura 2000 sites in the Czech Republic and in France.
Bienvenue dans la vallée des Baux, véritable joyau de Provence et zone d'action privilégiée d'Arocha France. Cette immense marée, autrefois d'importance internationale, fut drainée à plusieurs reprises et poldérisée dans les années 1950 pour des fins agricoles. Petit à petit, les zones humides ont régressé, mais quelques personnes visionnaires ont su déjà à l'époque conserver certains marais relictuels, témoins d'un riche passé. Voici donc le marais de Lilon où nous sommes aujourd'hui. La régression des zones humides a posé de nombreux problèmes à la société. Inondations, pollution des eaux, perte de biodiversité. Et pourtant, l'agriculture ne paie plus. Chacun aujourd'hui, dans la vallée des Baux, recherche aujourd'hui une solution pour une gestion véritablement durable de ce territoire. Une gestion qui concilie les activités humaines et le respect des conditions écologiques locales, la protection de la biodiversité.
It's very important because it's the native terrapin.
Restaurer la nature n'est pas une utopie, mais peut-être une chance pour l'homme. Rocha s'est ainsi donné la mission de contribuer à cette dynamique à la fois écologique et humaine.
Environmental degradation and climate change hurt poor people the most. There's a misconception that investing in conservation is contrary to investing in people's livelihoods, that it's a luxury. But the idea that you need to get rich first, then worry about your environment, is not only untrue, it's dangerous. The fact is, the majority of the poorest people in the majority of the poorest countries continue to depend heavily on natural resources. However, experts have confirmed that 60% of the world's ecosystems are degraded or unsustainably used. This has direct impact on the livelihoods of the poor. They concluded, if we want to cut in half the number of people living in extreme poverty and meet the Millennium Development Goals to reduce poverty, hunger and disease by 2015, the world's natural resources need to be managed sustainably.
The poor are really more poor in the context of the degraded ecosystem. Rocha is working to not leave people in such conditions, in terms of allowing people to be really happy to live in a very stable ecosystem. In that sense, Rocha is, I think, working at the foundation of the poverty. The foundation is the spiritual one and the environmental one.
Sustainable development is very important for the population. And when Rocha is working for biodiversity and when Rocha is working against the deforestation, Rocha is really fighting against poverty. We cannot separate taking care of the earth and taking care of so many people who are so poor in the world.
All over the world, Christians are waking up to their urgent responsibility to care for God's beleaguered creation. The challenge is to all of us. Time is running out.